Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to make sure you know all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on all new episodes of Wade's World, Boob Windows and Long Boxes, our Hard R movie reviews, and so much more, all completely uncensored. Access starts for as little as $1 a month, full videos when you pledge $3 a month. Check us out at the link in all of our show notes, or just go straight to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. I am your captain, Charlie the Professor Esser, and with me as always is me skinny rich first mate.
It's Mozz.
Oh, welcome, Mozz. Oh, this episode. The final episode of Season 1. Season 1, Episode 8, Where I Really Come From. Mark must prove he's become the hero he's always wanted to be by stopping an unstoppable force. Director is Jeff Allen. Robert Kirkman gets the screenplay along with Ryan Otley and Corey Walker, whose credits state... jumped too far. That Ryan Otley is the co-creator. He also gets a writer credit on this, and of course Corey Walker is the co-creator. Yeah, this was created by, screenplay by, this is 100% a Robert Kirkman vehicle, and it's a rough one, man, because, you know,
a lot of stuff has to break to get to where we get to.
Yeah, and where we get to is everybody kind of in their own places, and one of the catalysts that we get in this is, so, of course, you know, at the end of all of the stuff from last episode, you know, it winds up with Cecil transporting the Leviathan to deal with, and again, he's not trying to stop or kill Nolan. He's just trying to slow him down until he can think of the next thing. He's just dancing as fast as he can. And it's kind of this almost, you realize how desperate Cecil is.
How desperate the world is.
Well, yeah, because, the world doesn't even know what's going on yet. And Cecil is in the middle of it, and he's trying to think about what he can do to get to where he needs to. And, you know, Invincible sees the monster and thinks, oh my gosh, I get to team up with my dear old dad, and flies in, and that's when Adam Eve gets the call to hold back. Pull back and go with the Guardians. And the Guardians are also being told to wait there. And, you know, you need to wait because we don't know.
God forbid, you know, Invincible gets destroyed or whatever. I can't have all my superheroes destroyed.
Yeah, and not only that, yeah, well, exactly, yeah, because he went through the last Guardians real quick. But at the same time, we get our good old Mauler bros, who have gotten the schematics for the mind control neck brace and have stitched together the Immortal. And as it turned out, that's all you really needed to do, was stitch him back together, and biologically he just repairs himself.
Which tells you that Cecil only chose to not bring him back to life.
Not necessarily. He just might not have thought.
You think so? It seems like
sew him back together.
He wanted Omni-Man to think that he was gone and not a factor to be able to spring it on him when he needed to.
No, because he wasn't doing anything with him.
Right,
his body was in the dirt.
Keeping him on the shelf until the time was ready and be like,
no, he put his body in the dirt, in the ground where the Mauler brothers dug him up.
Right, but I mean, they knew that they could have gotten him back. The thing is, like, at the Maul.
No, I don't think they knew. I think that was as a surprise to Cecil as anyone.
You think so? Because like he's
yeah. Because
I'm sure he died and been brought back before. It seemed like
I don't think he has. I don't think he has. That's the thing.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
You see, I think that was the first time he had died.
Interesting.
And no one knew he could. That when they called him the Immortal, they meant it. Because you see, and I guess it's to jump ahead. This time they got him stitched back up. And this time, they're trying to figure out the secret sauce, and they show his pupils dilating when they shine the light in it. So he's there, but in this one, we see how the Mahler brothers got him to start was by beating his chest, and which sounds ridiculous, but of course it is the drum calling him back, and we get to see the Immortal's history. And we get to see him as this Conanic warrior in the Hyborian age pulled into some vortex. And then we get to see him later on in various incarnations, battling as a king, becoming Abraham freaking Lincoln, and apparently faking his own death.
That part was really cool. So, but it puts us in a weird situation because then we watch Omni-Man kill Abraham Lincoln, which is not fun.
No, it's not. But I did like seeing him in his Golden Age outfit.
Yeah.
Where he's got the little shield with the eye on it and the little blue tights. It was neat. It was a neat thing for the Immortal to do. And, I like that the Immortal was... I like who we got as the Immortal, and I like his backstory, and I like that he's not gone yet. Right.
Because, Omni-Man came from somewhere else, right? Immortal is a real, Earth superhero. He's from Earth. He's our superhero,
Yeah, well, he is arguably whatever it is that makes Earth magic, he got.
Right.
And, he's the proto-superhero. He's the Conan. He's the
champion. He's Earth's champion. But man,
exactly,
nothing compared to a Viltrumite.
Well, I wouldn't say nothing.
Well,
he gets a lot. He gets a lot more blood. He got way more blood out of Nolan than the space laser.
Right, and then the entire species of whatever those time traveling aliens were. I forget what they were called.
Yeah.
Flaxans.
Well, I forget too. The Flaxans, but the Flaxans, as we see at the end of this episode, are still he didn't beat them. He smacked him down.
I think maybe he just destroyed their capital city or something.
Yeah, well, it seemed like he destroyed a lot of their capitals, but again left the job unfinished because I think it was too much for him to do, which is an interesting concept. I once wrote this little treatise for a bit because I wanted to I wrote a idea of a what if Superman were a Nazi?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but the thing was that, yes, he had all these superpowers, but he could only do so much because he still had to fight human tanks and work on that human scale. And because he was in that human scale, he could not, he could defeat anyone who could come after him. But if he's engaged with tanks on one side of the globe, he can't very well be at the other side where the sneak attack is coming. And one of the final things I do where he eventually surrenders is after the bombs are dropped on Hiroshima and he goes there, to defeat them, and he realizes you can't stop a nuclear explosion. He survives it, he's just fine. But it's he couldn't do anything about it. He was powerless against it. And that's the idea that I think that maybe that's the problem that the Viltrumites have. Yes, they're super. Yes, they're superhuman and they can battle anything, but when people are numerous and beings can be everywhere at all times and can outthink you and outstrategize you, suddenly all that power becomes much less useful because unless you can get your strategy up to that same level and have a backup for your backup, and if you're your only backup, you don't have much of a backup, you're kind of in a rough spot.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem the Viltrumites are facing. Now, it would be interesting if now that they figured out, this is how, if there's an effort to try and figure out how the immortal works and how maybe we can make one or two more, which would be an interesting question.
The Maulers can clone stuff, right? Maybe they can clone us an army of immortals.
Well, given that I think there's going to be a whole conversation next season about how did you get him started? Like, we're not telling. And they just beat on his chest.
Right. And why would they? Hey, let him go and I'll tell you.
Yes. We want our pardons.
Right. Of course.
Of course, guys like the Mauler brothers, you're always wondering, what exactly is it they really want?
Interesting.
When you're that super genius, you're this super villain, and you're attacking the White House for reasons. What is your end goal? What really were you planning on having happen? Do you just want money?
I think they just want to play the game. They're so good at it, they just want to play the game. That's all.
That's true. And that's, and to be fair, those are my favorite kind of supervillains.
I dig it, yeah.
Guys who are like, oh no, it's really just, I want to show,
it's an art
that I
form,
can win.
And I am an artist.
Exactly.
It's just
the difference between a villain and a supervillain? Presentation.
Right. Check me out, right? Look what I did. That's it.
Exactly. So I'm looking forward to seeing our Marler brothers again next episode. But this is where we get the pet line. But you know what's weird about that? We have so many stories. Heck, John Wick is a story about a guy whose dog got killed and then just killed everyone.
There's that quote that's floating everywhere on the internet. Your dog will be, your whole life for a while, but like you are your dog's entire life, right? Their entire life is by your side. And they're a small part of your life, but their whole life is you. And then when you think about it from that perspective, it's like, man, how dare you ever, like, it's my responsibility to protect it. Like, this dog, his whole life is me. So, and you have that protective spirit.
But there's the flip side to that. Which that if you ever had a dog live and die, you're not forgetting that dog.
Right.
That dog is your entire life for the rest of your life too. And again, it goes to that idea. Imagine if you lived 1,000 years and you'll always remember that dog that you watched lived and died. And, your entire moral structure is going to be based around what you did with that dog.
Yeah, that responsibility does something to you.
Exactly.
So, and I think it's done it to him.
It has, because we see that at no time does he ever hurt any of the people who have a personal connection with him, except for the Guardians. And even then, I get the feeling like he didn't necessarily want to do that. He didn't want to kill the Guardians. He just felt he had to, because he knew they were too much of a threat, that the Viltrumites couldn't take over, because we say that even he barely defeated them. And it's like, if the Guardians knew or figured out what Nolan was up to and mounted an escape, didn't give him the ability to ambush them, they would have defeated him. If he had
even bother killing them if they weren't really a threat, right?
Because they were a threat.
That's what. Yeah, like why would he bother if they weren't? If they weren't, they clearly were a threat. If he,
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's one of the things we even get. He kills. He puts his arm through the immortal again, and you think he's in, and then the immortal's like, ah, and gouges out his eyes, and his eyes are still red. When he goes to fight Mark. And throughout it all, he's just trying. And I think that's the thing. I think when he's having his battle with Mark and killing all these people, as much as he's trying to convince Mark, I actually think he's trying to convince himself.
Exactly.
He's trying to, and that was the thing. And when Mark is, and this is the spoiler, he's beating down Mark. He says, "What will you have?
What will you have left?"
Yeah, what will you have left? And he says, "I'd still have you." And it's like, you know? It's
and I think that moment has been brewing since that first time at the dinner table when he comes in and she tells him, or Mark says, "I got my powers." And there's that strangeness that comes over him. It's that moment that he realized that he would have to make a decision between this son that he just found so much pride in and this wife that he loves and his obligation to his upbringing. And in that moment, he knew it happened already, that he'd made that choice, but he couldn't admit it to himself. And from that moment to now, he's been trying to say, no, like if he can get Mark to agree with him, then that means, I don't have to do it. I don't have to do it. But he knows if he can't convince Mark, he has no choice but to do it. And he's been fighting that with himself this whole time. And it comes to a head now. And when he hits him with that line, "At least I'll have you." And he's like, wait a second. I do, like, not only will I have you, but you'll have me. Right?
Yeah.
So now, like, it's like, oh my God, there is some, and it's such a powerful moment.
And there is this moment in there where he's like saying, 17 years, what? I could have another son. And it's like, yeah, no, you can't. You're not going to find another woman like Debbie that's going to be someone that you want to do this with.
And not just that, but even if he can, like when that moment hits him and he thinks back to those moments, he can have more moments, but that doesn't change that moment. That's
exactly.
Still has that gravity. And he's like, it doesn't matter if you can have more. This is still here.
Exactly. And like I said, just like with the pet, that was your pet for its whole life.
Right.
And
that's what I mean. That responsibility does something to you. So now he realizes, wait a second, it's within my power to protect my pet. Right? It's within my power. All of these people, these could be like my pet. And it's within my power to protect. What am I doing? I have to do this, don't I? God, I have to do this, don't I? Tell me I don't have to do this. God, I have to do this.
Yeah. The irony is
to protect them. I mean, I
have to
break away from my programming.
But the irony is, had he, and this is maybe even one of those, we got into our big fight about showing up in the uniform at Amber's house last episode. And I wonder if there's some amount of self-sabotage going on with this. And like when he says, "I think I left it there for you to find," regarding his wife and finding the suit. And I think him killing the Guardians of the Globe, it's what he should have done 30 years ago, or 20 years ago, whatever it was. And he didn't do it, and now he has to do it because... the truth is, had he not done that, had he actually just said, "Hey, Mark, we need to talk. I need to tell you more about Veltrum. I need you to understand why I'm on this planet and what we're trying to do," he might have gotten his son to understand it. But because he pushed this other way, it's almost as if he self-sabotaged himself.
I think what he thought he was doing, and I think what he thinks he's doing constantly while he's killing all these people, is trying to make a road he can't walk back from. Right? He's trying to put his back to the wall to say, this is my only option, is to convince. I'm going to do all this stuff that's going to make it impossible for me to get back into the good graces of the earth. So I have no choice but to convince me, And I think that's what he's trying to do. He's like, no, trust me. I'm not this human feeling thing. Look at me. I'm killing people, right? No, look at me. I'm killing people. That's who I am. And he's trying so hard to get, but it doesn't work.
No, it doesn't, because that's not who he is. He is a caring human being now. And that is the problem when you get into that whole idea of only the strong survive, And it's great until your kid isn't the strong. And now you've got to say, well, maybe they're strong in other ways. And it goes back to what we were saying about Robot, Rudy, as he says his name is this episode. I'm Rudolph. I forget what his last name was, but he said, "But call me Rudy," which I just think is great. That now his superhero name is Rudy.
Right. He just wants to be he wants to be a real life boy now. I'm just Rudy. Rudy. That's a real life boy name,
Well, his name was Rudolph, and Rudy
I know.
I mean, it's not like he's a carpet salesman.
Fair enough.
He's off the grid. He's good. No, but it is interesting in the idea that he is this person, and honestly, that is a messed up relationship too, because obviously he stole Rexplode's DNA expressly because he wants to find a relationship with Monster Girl, which, okay, not horrible, but also not, when you're putting all those eggs in that one basket, that's a bad idea. And, this is the thing we actually get into from time to time about Superman, is that whenever you go to the and then Superman turned to evil stories, it's always a story where someone kills Lois.
Right.
And then once you kill Lois, he's like, well, I got nothing to worry about with you.
I don't care about the rest of you at all.
Exactly, which is like the worst interpretation of Superman, to my opinion. But,
right.
It's like, no, it's like if you killed, and to be fair, that is one of the
Is that like the original John Wick story? You killed Superman's pet and he just kills the world.
I mean, I guess so. They've done that in a few things. They did a better version of it when they had Brandon Routh be old Superman again. And in that one, Lois did die, but he was still being Superman. He didn't go and become the Sovereign or conquer the world or, work with Intergang or whatever, it wasn't a whole, and now the gods are angry story. It was just, okay, that's bad, but I still have my moral compass, and I will be a better person because Lois would want me to be a better person. But that idea that when you kill that person's other person, that they have to destroy the world. You can't turn your back on everything just because of that. Right. That's only if you have a real moral compass. Because Nolan, I guarantee you, if Cecil killed Betty or Mark, no, everyone's dead. Everyone's dead tomorrow. Because the things that bound him to this world are there. And again, along those lines, that's if nothing else, that is what Cecil is counting on. That is why Cecil really wants to walk this line with Mark. Because as dangerous as Mark is too, first off, Mark's still a juvenile, so they know that probably they could deal with him if they ever had to. But more importantly, they need to be working with this person because if nothing else, this is the person that Omni-Man is going to have that connection to. And while they could never ask Mark to kill Omni-Man, they just need to get him into a spot where Omni-Man isn't trying to destroy the planet.
Right, and he's like that old medieval, family joining marriage Mark is, right? He's part human, part Viltrumite. Now we're connected. Now we have to be on the same team. So that's worth pursuing.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And Cecil knows that, He knows that Nolan is infected, And just the fact that after all of it, and oh man, that whole process when we see Mark healing.
Yeah, imagine if Debbie is one long, clever Cecil psyop. The ultimate game to get Omni-Man to be beholden to us in some way.
I can get it. I can see it. I can totally embrace it. I've had theories of that same idea with sidekicks.
I would hate it, but it's an interesting thought.
No. My theory on sidekicks was that, they intentionally had Bucky become Steve's friend, and then they just kept on cloning him and putting these guys, because Rick Jones apparently looks exactly like Bucky Barnes, and so does Jack Monroe and several other people throughout history in the Marvel Universe. They all it's because they did these retcons.
Bucky, how have you been alive for the last 500 years? Yeah, they did something to me. Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yes, but the idea was that it would be just a great reveal that was always this plot to get these young wards associated with the superheroes, and now the superheroes have to take care of these young wards, and the young wards were always like, yes, this
there could be a whole organization, a bureaucracy that handles an association of sidekicks that operate out of Prague or somewhere, and they send, they're all connected.
The Orphan Brigade.
Right.
Oh, that's a book I gotta write. The Orphan Brigade.
That's good. I like that.
How do you control a superhuman? You give them something to care about.
That would make a great book.
Yeah.
That'd make a great book.
Yes.
You'd combine all the different universes, too. You'd have a silly excuse to do it.
Yeah, it all goes back to Sherlock Holmes and his Baker Street Irregulars. Getting these little mop tops to win their way into the law of Mr. Holmes. Is what we heard, sir. And it was Lestrade always pulling the strings. Okay, we'll get him to do this and we'll control everything. Anyway, that's a theory. But, yeah, I mean, Nolan leaves his planet, and that becomes the shocking reveal.
Yeah.
At the end of it, and I actually like that, you see him fly off and you just see the blood all burnt because he goes fast enough that everything just burns off. We see it later with Mark, and just all of his clothes burn off as he flies up to meet Alan. And it is this idea that he is there. And again, this is after he has killed all these people. Although it's an interesting parallel. Because we saw earlier during the Flaxen invasion when Mark is holding up this building and he sees these two people in an apartment on the first floor, and he has them come out before the building collapses. But you forget that there were probably hundreds of people in that building who didn't get out.
Knowing this show, yeah. But I convinced myself that, everybody else had gotten out and they were the last people left. That's what I was telling myself.
Yeah.
But you're probably right.
I mean, not for nothing. These are people that don't evacuate during a superhero fight.
Yeah, what in the world?
Yeah, I mean, when you see people flying into buildings, it's like, oh. Well, you have that.
Couldn't happen to me.
Well, honestly, you can see that happening. Because, I'm sure when the towers fell, there were people that were just sort of standing there looking at the towers. And it's like, don't look at the towers, leave. And these are people because it's so terrifying. Because obviously you don't have the fight response. Because what are you going to fight? And your fight response, you've been conditioned, don't run away from a fight, And it's like, no, run away, or help other people get away. That's actually usually you always hear that story of people like, that what gets people to move is getting other people to move. It's like, everyone start running away. And it's shocking that you don't see that more in superhero films where people are just trying to get away, get out of the building. Superheroes have arrived. Everyone out. But, yeah, I mean, it's implied in that first one, and really it's also only implied in the second time we see it, but the second time we see that the persons he was directly trying to save are also dead. And that is like, and to be fair, and it's not really fair, but to be fair to Nolan, he's saying you can't save them all.
Right.
You can't fight everything. And although that's an interesting relationship to what Adam Eve had been saying, where she has been literally saving people from mudslides and earthquakes and, saving more lives doing what she wanted to do as just search and rescue than what she ever did on the teen team. And along those same lines, when the Guardians of the Globe really earn their place, isn't fighting Nolan, it's using their special skills for search and rescue. That's when they're going in and Shrinking Violet goes in to search through all the things, and Robot's using his, robot sensors, and Duplicate is picking things up that, and you compare that to when they fought that Tiger dude.
Cool. Yeah.
Which again was a meaningless fight, which for what it's worth, Nolan said this is a meaningless fight. This is a bunch of, petty humans fighting amongst themselves. You can't solve those problems. And of course, Mark couldn't. Because all they're going to do is they're going to bring somebody in to punch you more, and maybe you'll punch them more. Because obviously you're a Viltrumite, obviously you're always going to be able to punch them more eventually, but you're still young, kid. It's like sending your 5-year-old in with a shotgun to take care of the zombies. He might be able to be okay, but it would be poor parenting to send them in that way.
Everybody has their roles, right? You got to have some free time to do your stuff too. So you can't be handling every single problem because they will always be a problem. So you got to pick and choose the ones you can devote yourself to.
And to be fair, sometimes these superpowers are probably better doing work in that, search and rescue. And all of the, one of my favorite superheroes is a guy named Boulder. They call him Butterball sometimes, but I always call him Boulder because that was the name he chose. And his power is just absolute invulnerability.
Absolute vulnerability?
Invulnerability.
Oh, absolute invulnerability. Oh, okay.
But, he's not fast. He's not strong. He's like a dumpy kid, but he is completely impervious to any injury.
Oh,
like lasers tickle him a little bit, but he is subject to emotional pain. So that's an interesting thing that we learned about him. But that's like the only pain he can feel is emotional pain. And so, and when they give him his like superhero badge, they say, you've got a real future in rescue and recovery. Because you can go into nuclear power plants and get people out. You can go in and guide people. You can go into places that have poison gas and bring down oxygen for people to get them out. You can save lives in ways that most other superheroes never could because nothing's going to be able to hurt you. So, I mean, that's it. And when you think about it, that would be a really good use of superhuman powers,
Right. Now you come to think of it, they could have so many industrial applications.
If you ever watched the Venture Brothers and they have their Human Torch character,
okay,
and the evil Reed Richards puts him as the power source for the Baxter Building.
Oh, that's funny.
The Impossible Building, yeah. I mean, obviously that's awful, but if you think about it, a guy like Johnny Storm going in 9 to 5, going supernova on a power plant to generate all of the energy that a town needs, that's a pretty good use of your powers.
That's not bad, yeah.
All the other superheroes that could do that just do a maintenance level amount of massive energy creation to power the city. That's a pretty good job, man.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah, and when you
constructive superheroism.
Yeah, and along those same lines, you actually get that in the Marvel Universe with damage control, where they hire a bunch of superheroes who are lower level superheroes, but these are the guys that can lift the steel girders and rebuild the building.
Hey, what if the Constructicons actually constructed buildings?
Well, exactly. They'd be really good at it.
That would be great. That would be hilarious.
Yeah, it would be. It would be awesome. So many things would be so awesome if they did them. Anyway, and then we get our big final thing with Alan the Alien, where this guy is bad at his people. Telling they got Seth Rogen to play the guy.
Yeah.
It's oh man, it's my first day. I don't know. Although clearly it wasn't because he's been coming back here. Some of them never realized the guy he was fighting was a Viltrumite.
Yeah.
Never realized
that there was a Viltrumite on this planet that he keeps visiting.
Exactly.
Wait a second. So when Alan first encounters Mark, he goes, "Hey, you don't look like the guy I see before." So he's met.
Yeah, he's met Omni-Man. He's met Omni-Man 6 times.
So then, how he didn't know Omni-Man was a Viltrumite? He just thought he was a Earth superhero.
No, he thought it was because you know what? Who knows? Maybe the first time he came, he actually met the Immortal. We don't know how long they lived. We don't know. We don't know that Omni-Man was the first person he encountered.
That makes sense.
So at one point, and maybe Omni-Man was showing up there are you really supposed to be here? And but then again, Omni-Man may not know all the bureaucracy either, because that's the thing. There's clearly a huge cosmic bureaucracy out there, probably formed expressly because of the Viltrumites. Out there, because now this order of planets is sort of saying, well, what are we going to do with these Viltrumites? And then you got guys like the Tiger Lion Man and
Battle Beast.
Battle beats you, thank you. And we see him at the end of this episode as well, beating on some really skinny poor guys.
Well, those were worth your rage, really?
We don't know what their powers are, man.
Fair enough.
That's the thing. Because they could be like, they could have great technology. And they might, that's always that thing. It's like, and that's the robot issue. Yeah, I'm just basically a fetus in a jar, but you know what? I'm 99.9% brain. And because I'm 99.9% brain, I can do things that other people can't, and solve problems that other people can't, and understand things that other people can't. I really want to see what happens with Rudy in the next season. Because as I think we've talked, it's like, is his brain's infrastructure going to be able to continue to do it? Is he going to be having problems?
He does seem to be able to control the drones just fine, right?
Right, he's controlling his drones just fine. That's what the little thing in the back of his head is for. So he certainly has his he's certainly able to do a lot. But it's also, is he overclocking his processor? And is he going to have problems where his brain starts saying, well, no, in order for us to do this, we've got to start, either, as they say, cannibalizing some of these other neural, the cerebral cortex to get this body work, to get the brain power working. But then again, it's possible that he can build himself like some kind of weird brain augmenting helmet, this cooling system.
Yeah.
And then he's got this big headpiece on all the time.
Or, by that token, he could probably do some genetic modifications to the body's DNA in which he resides and allow for the DNA to rewrite cranial capacity and the physical shape and form of the brain itself.
Well, yeah, but then he's gonna have to have a soft skull for a while. So he's gonna have to soften his skull, allow for the brain to expand out. But then, he just has to sort of be remote again. While the robots do all the work. So,
or he could just have successive clones being made in better and better iterations.
That is a possibility too. Although, again, he obviously has the emotional connection. Although maybe this next one he's going to have the problems, and then he's going to have to. No, here's how you have to do it so this clone will work,
Right. You keep making copies, and like every year a new iPhone comes out, you get a new Rudy.
Exactly.
The Rudy 12.
I'm looking forward to more Rudy. I'm looking forward to all of this stuff. I mean, honestly, and this is my thing. I think that Nolan's between a rock and a hard place. Because I think when he goes back to the Viltrumite Empire, which I think is probably going to be in kind of shambles.
Yeah, I think where he goes in the comics is to just a different random other planet, hides out there for a while.
Yeah.
But the Viltrumites are coming here because he's betrayed them and they are coming to collect their bounty, I think.
I mean, that seems very practical. Although, again, it's that idea of the Viltrumites, again, because they're spread so thin, they're going to have to take stuff off of one part of their empire to go deal with this Earth problem.
Yep.
Which also means that now they're going into a box canyon. And that's exactly the kind of situation that, both the Order of Planets and Cecil is waiting for. As we're going to get all those things with that in the radiant rages that you can't see through. And that's what's going to be next. So
this is interesting. So Cecil knows Alan, it seems. Mm-hmm. I feel like he has diplomatic relationships with Alan and the Consortium of Planets or whatever they're called, right? So I find it interesting that those people are concerned with the threat of the Viltrumite Empire to the galaxy, and I'm sure they have contingencies in place that they've been considering for a very long time. I'm surprised he did not call out to Alan himself to say, hey, there's a Viltrumite here, and we might need your help.
Well, no, because I don't think Cecil really got that far.
So you don't think he has relationships with Alan and the...
No. I think Alan had relationships with whoever the planetary protectors were. And I don't think Alan... Because that's the thing. Alan only ever talked to Nolan. Or only ever talked to Mark.
or the Immortal, or whoever was there in his place.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, and if he talks to the Immortal, and as we saw, the Immortal, he can be very rage-filled too. So, he's got that very Kentucky rail splitter vibe going for him. I do wonder if, no, they didn't know, but now that this is knowledge, and that's the thing, is like at this point, because Mark probably did his homework, filled out the report, says, yeah, he thought it was Urath, it's actually Earth. And I was like, why are they using the Roman alphabet? And, but as it works, it works. But, so now Cecil knows about Alan, knows what was going on with that. May also question why, this was not something that, Nolan could have figured out. But then again, that's the thing. Nolan probably just punched. At a certain point, Alan said, you pass, and then flew off.
Yeah.
And never looked to go deeper.
Yeah.
Whereas Mark is going to look to go deeper. Because he's a smart, Because you got to be smart if you want to be a good superhero. And, which is why part of me wonders if the Viltrumites show up, if there isn't going to be a welcome Viltrumite conquerors parade set up for them.
Well, then if there is, then man, Nolan just did his job to perfection.
Exactly, but it's the idea that why would we object to having you come here and work with us to build a better Earth?
Yeah.
What are you offering us? Because we're very amenable.
Yeah.
Our history is one person conquers someone else. If you're here to conquer us, let's talk about what the terms of surrender are.
Yeah.
And then get them into a bureaucratic nightmare.
Right. It's not like you're conquering us. You're here to buy our services.
Yes. Right? Let's make a deal.
Yeah.
What's behind curtain number 1? Oh, you bought a zonk. I'm sorry. We're sorry, Viltrumites. It's a zonk.
Better like next 2,000 years.
Yes. But no, I'm looking forward to what it is. I don't want to read the books now because I want to be surprised. Which is maybe counterintuitive to it.
Right. From what I've heard, that these books took like a decade or two to flesh out that story, and they didn't have the foresight that they do now to be able to see the entirety of the story and to be able to plan for things and better tell certain things. So I think an interview I saw, Robert Kirkman was like, this is an opportunity to sort of like fix some of the things that were sort of like plot holy because we were forced to, because we just came up with these ideas later. So it's a way of reworking the story. And so they're looking forward, and they've already done things that never happened in the comic books, and they're looking to do more things that didn't happen in the comic books. So I think if you read the comic books, you still will be surprised and will find, a different story being told here.
And I'm sure that is true because, I mean, obviously if you read Marvel Comics, you got an idea of where they might go with certain things in the MCU, but they do make their own stories. If you read The Boys, you've got an idea of where they might go with The Boys, but then other things are going to go differently. And a lot of things have gone differently in The Boys, and that is coming back too, getting a season 3 of that. Amazon is building their little arsenal, man. I just want them to bring back the Tick so bad. That is the perfect triumvirate of the total grimdark, the pretty but dark, and then the dark but crazy. Because it's all dark because it is superheroes, and it is what if people existed who were just insanely more powerful than the average human being. But how they approach it is always very interesting. So, anyway, I'm looking forward to more of this, more of The Boys, more of the Tick. Don't forget the Tick. Write your local congressman. Say, bring back the Tick.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what Battle Beast does. I want to see more of Battle Beast. I want to see the rest of the Viltrumite Empire.
I want to see the Battle Beast homeworld.
Oh.
That's the thing. It's like, here's what it comes down to. The Viltrumites essentially battled each other until they had a society ready to conquer the world. The Battle Beast species seems to have fought themselves just to be better battlers. And so now you've just got this planet of barbarians that if anyone ever said, well, you really want the best battle of all time, and all you guys can come and play. Why don't you come visit the planet of Viltrum? Come to sunny Viltrum and battle to your heart's content. And just an entire planet of battle beasts going to Viltrum. It would be glorious. But we'll see if that's a plotline they decide to explore. Anyway, Mozzie, this is so much fun. I love this. Next week, depending on what show you're listening to this on, well, you're only listening to this on Capes and Lunatics Network and Full Stream Ahead, but next week drops Loki and the return of Nuff Said combined with Full Stream Ahead. So that will be next week, and hopefully you will all join us for that. And in the meantime, Mozz, if they want to talk to you about what they think is going to happen to the Viltrumite Empire or the Earthican planetoid or anything else, how can they find you?
Oh, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way, the way our mothers and fathers once did, at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things like Legends of Tomorrow, maybe Loki, some other TV show that is on at a time and or where there's an agreed upon time where we will all tweet. At Charlie Esser, that's CHARLIESSER. Look for the two E's in the middle.
Equality. Bing!
Thank you, Mozz. All right, you scurvy dogs. This tired old vessel has come to an end of another series. Come back again next week, 'cause no matter what, we'll be sailing full stream ahead. Arr.